I call David Seymour, 5 minutes.
Mr Speaker, I rise on behalf of the ACT Party in support of this bill. The lines or the written laws that demarcate the relationship between the power of the state and the rights and freedoms of the individual are among the most important things that we will ever debate in this House. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to explain my support for this legislation. In the first reading, I said that I too have read Franklin and have read Rawls. And the main conclusion I came to is that I wish the Green Party would apply their newfound classical liberalism to the role of government within the domestic economy. But I digress. I also conclude that we do not live by the maxim that those who give up freedom for security deserve neither. In fact, the history of a classical liberal society is that we have done precisely that and done it very, very carefully to get a good bargain in terms of security for the freedom that we've been prepared to trade off. And I said at that time that extending visual surveillance powers that already exist with the police to the SIS was not a significant change in principle, and neither was extending the period which a passport could be cancelled for. 48-hour warrantless surveillance with a very wide scope, however, I said was not okay and was a significant shift in principle rather than extent. And so I stand before you today and explain why it is that I've changed my mind on what I regard as a very important matter. No doubt reducing the period of warrantless surveillance to 24 hours puts it far more in line with the practical requirements of the time taken to get a warrant properly. And bear in mind, a much greater threat to civil liberties was that under practical pressures, the existing warrant granting process might have been watered down. Far better to have a more transparent process like this than do that. Narrowing the scope to terrorist acts only was a significant concession that has made it much easier for me to support this bill. But most importantly is the fact that despite the truncated process that we have gone through, and I might say it's very easy for members of New Zealand First to say that we should have sat through the holiday for this bill, because for them going on holiday doesn't change their workload very much anyway. But I had to say, Mr Speaker, that despite this truncated process, the greatest mercy that we have is that we are able to revisit this legislation within the current term, and that is how I was able to change my mind. In particular, I would like to thank the Inspector General for her briefing. I'd like to thank the Chair of the committee, Mark Mitchell, for his committee. And in particular, I would like to thank senior members of the Labour Party whom I respect. And ultimately, for me, it was their willingness to forgo the ability to do political point scoring in order to support this bill for issues of both national security and our civil liberties simultaneously that persuaded me it was worth supporting this bill. And with that in mind, Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I call order please. I'm calling Kanwaljit Singh Bakshi.
Thank you.